Hey, Mark here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a Chrome extension that runs a make.com automation. And to make sure that the user is authorized to use our application, we're going to implement an API key requirement. This is an extension of my previous video in which we built a SaaS tool in 43 minutes using no-code tools, make.com, Softer, and Airtable. This time we're not going to be writing any code either, asking ChatGPT 4.0 with Canvas to help us out. Let's dive in. If you're interested in this automation and grabbing hold of the unbelievable opportunity that exists today for AI automators, then I recommend you check out my school community where you can download this blueprint and many more and be up and running in a matter of minutes. It's this simple. Navigate to the blueprint you want to download in the school community, go over to make.com and select import blueprint and you're ready to go. In the school community, we also have automation learning materials and access to a full calendar of events, including masterclasses, Q&As, co-working sessions, and live streams. When it comes to AI automation, if you want to up your game, then this community is for you. Head over to school.com/AI-automations to get started. Now back to the video. So just to recap where we were in the last video and where we're going to build on that with the Chrome extension, we built a SaaS tool that is a very simple tool that simply takes a blog post and allows us to create a LinkedIn post from it. So we wanted to do something simple because it's not about the automation really, it's really about creating a SaaS tool with an automation as the back end. So this is the tool that we created. We simply go ahead and submit an article. So if I go here and just choose an article from our dummy website here, let's go for this one. I paste this into our website here, click submit. Now our automation is running in the background, and if you want to see what that does, check out the last video. But ultimately now we're just going ahead and creating our LinkedIn post. So this is our dashboard which shows all the posts that we've created in the past. If I refresh this page now, hopefully we're there, if not nearly there. There you go. So this is our new LinkedIn article that got created from that blog post. It's that simple. But now we want to do exactly the same thing but with a Chrome extension. So what we're going to have happen is that a Chrome button will hover above the page on our browser, and if we see an article that we like or an article on our blog that we want to create a LinkedIn post for, we just press that button and a LinkedIn post will be created in our dashboard. But we want to make sure that the user is authorized to use our application. We don't want anybody else calling our webhook using our Chrome extension. So we're going to make sure that they have access to the application with an API key that we're going to implement as well. So let's get started. What we're going to do first is we're going to create a webhook because our Chrome extension is going to call our webhook. That's how it's going to integrate with our automation. We're going to go to webhooks here, custom webhook. I'm going to add a new one and we're going to call this Chrome extension school demo. Save. I'm going to name this scenario the same, Chrome extension school demo. I'm going to copy the address of this because we're going to need this to give instructions to ChatGPT. So we're going to use ChatGPT to create the first part of the extension. So we're using 4.0 with Canvas. I've had mixed luck with Canvas. I prefer Mini still. I don't know why. It just seems to give better results. But there's a massive advantage with 4.0 in that it provides all of the files that you need as a zip file that you can just easily copy and paste into Chrome for building the extension. Otherwise you have to copy and paste each of the code pages out every time, which is like 5 or 6, and that gets tiresome. So I've played with this again and it's getting it to work, but the advantage of having the zip in this case is definitely better. But I'm sure it's just over time it will become better or as good as Mini. It might just be in my head as well that Mini seemed to be better because I was having good success with Mini. But we'll go with 4.0 Canvas, and I'll copy and paste some of the instructions here so you don't have to just watch me type. Please create a Chrome extension with a hovering button that when pressed sends the URL of the current page to a webhook. The webhook address is, you don't have to put this in, but otherwise it will put a placeholder in to say insert webhook here, and if you just tell it what the webhook is, then it'll do that for you and it just saves you a bit of time. I always wanted to provide it as a zip file every single time it makes a code change. For some reason, I can't make it do it every time. I have to ask for the zip additionally every time. If you've found a way to do that, even it's updated its memory to say I need a zip every time, I don't get it. So if you know how to do that, then please let me know. So I've asked it to provide it as a zip file. You'll see why that's convenient in a minute. And then always include an icon.png in the zip file. So this is just a requirement for Chrome extension. You need an icon for it. It won't provide anything. You have to create your own one, but you can just get it to create a dummy icon. Generally just makes a block for you so that you don't have to worry about that whilst you're in this development and testing mode. So I'm going to run this and see where this gets us. So let's see if it creates us a zip file. That would be nice. So it hasn't, see, even though I asked for it. So I'll say, can you provide the files as a zip file, please? Okay, I'm going to download that. So I won't show you my Finder every time, but I'll just show you this once so you can get to see it. So they give you a zip file here. You can just open that, and then you need to go back over to Chrome to upload this to Chrome. But this is what I've got inside of the zip file. So 2 JavaScript files, a JSON file, an HTML file, which is the pop-up, and then the icon that I asked for. So let's just head back over to Chrome now then. So you just need to go into the extensions. So you can just put this into the browser, Chrome extensions. If you go down here to extensions, manage extensions, you come to the same place. So what you need to do is you need to check this switch at the top right hand corner and go to developer mode, and you can say load unpacked. We'll go to downloads. I'm just clicking that folder that we've just unzipped, loading that now, and you can see that this is coming to here, URL to Webhook button 1.0. So that's been added. So let's see what happens when I refresh this page. I should hopefully have a hovering button. And I don't, so I just need to give it more instructions. So it doesn't really surprise me because I always have this issue the first time I try to do this. I could prompt it to provide some more instructions because I know how you can get it to work, but let's assume we're doing this for the first time, and we'll just say no hovering button appears when loading a page in the browser. Advice. And the idea here is hopefully it'll figure it out, which it normally does. It normally gets there. It's generally down to a permissions issue, so it will figure it out. But I'm going to give it a chance to figure it out itself without telling it, just so that you can see. So here I just have to ask for the zip every time again. There you go. So I will not show you this, but I have got a new zip file. It's downloaded. Open that, and I'm going to go back into my extensions. I'm going to remove the old one. I'm going to add the new one. 2. There you go. Let's refresh the page, see if that's worked. There you go. So we've got a send URL button now. So I'm going to click that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run out make automation. Save. Okay. So I'm going to run that. And let's just go back to our page, descend URL, go back to our automation. And that did not, oh yes it did work. Just took a little bit of time. So now we've got the URL, so we're already now integrated with our make automation. We've managed to send the URL to the webhook. So in theory, all we need to do now is go and add a row in our database, because if you take a look at our last automation with the application, it waits and watches for updates to the database to go ahead and run the automation to create the LinkedIn file. But what we're going to do is we're going to make sure the user is authenticated to use our application. So we're going to implement the API as well. So let's go ahead and ask ChatGPT for us to also be able to provide API key credentials. So we want to be able to provide the email address and the API key itself and save that into the browser, so that every time the user uses the browser, they don't have to enter the API keys in again. And also, when somebody clicks the button, we want them to be able to send that API key and that email address to the webhook as well, so that we can authenticate them. So let's carry on with that next step. Let me just paste this in and we'll give it a read. So update the code so that the Chrome extension that requires you to change that requires you to be authenticated by a web app in order to function. Can you allow the user to add and edit the email and API key Chrome extension via a dialog that pops up when you press the extension icon on the Chrome extension toolbar? The extension should be saved in the browser. Sorry, the credentials should be saved in the browser. The updated code should also send the API key and the email address to the webhook. So we'll see how it copes with that. While that's doing, what you can do is you can go and click this box up here in Chrome, and you can see that we'll see our Chrome extension. Here you go, URL to webhook button. We'll put that in there. So actually it's created a nice little puzzle icon there, which is not seen it do before, but that's in there. So that's how we'll go and see. And the idea is that we click on this, and here we can put in our credentials, our email address, and our API key. So update the code. Again, please have the zip. There we go. So I'm going to download that. Okay, so we've got, let's call it 2.0 this time. Back to our page. We'll refresh the page. Go and add this extension in here. So yeah, it's a pretty ugly looking form, so we'll get it to improve that. But at the moment, it looks like we can put in the email address and the API key. The button's not showing, but I'm wondering if that's purposely not showing because it wants us to put in the API key credentials, which is okay functionality, I guess. Just go and put something fake in there and see if that saves. So it doesn't seem, at least it doesn't give any feedback that it's saved if it has. So let's go back to ChatGPT and we'll say the send URL button no longer appears. Please can you make sure this is showing even though the credentials, the API key has not been provided. Also, pressing the save button didn't seem to do anything. Please can you provide feedback messages to user? I'm also going to ask it to improve the look of that form. So please also update the CSS of the pop-up so that it looks more visually appealing. This is something I know that it gets stuck on. So what quite often happens is it'll get stuck on how it feeds back to the user, because again there's permissions around how you provide pop-ups and things like that. So having gone through this cycle a few times, I've now got some instructions that I use that just is the preference for how I like the feedback to be given. Implement tooltips that display success or error messages when interacting with the buttons. Ensure the tooltip appears close to the interaction point and has smooth fade-ins and out animations. So when I press the button, if it's an error or the URL gets sent, I just want a little message to say some feedback to the user that something happened, right? And actually that looks best as a tooltip, I think. Status messages in pop-up. So use in pop-up status messages for user actions like saving credentials with text color indicating success or error, green for success, red for errors. Avoid browser alerts. So browser alerts are those horrible like alerts that are right in your face, and you'll find that Chrome sometimes gives you, like when something's happening. They're not really, don't feel like part of the application, are pretty ugly for the user experience. So I would just say to avoid those. I don't want to have those, please. And just again, a little bit, something a little bit nice about the styling and the way it looks. Also, feedback messages should include invalid API key if the API key in email is not present or invalid. So when the URL is successfully sent to the webhook, I want that as a tooltip, and then API key saved when API credentials are saved. So this is just some examples there of like how I want some feedback to be given to the user. So let's see how it does with this. Okay, of course, you need to ask for the zip. So it says, I've updated the code to ensure send URL button is always displayed even if the API key is not provided, and added tooltip feedback for actions. The pop-up has been styled for a better visual experience, and the tooltips now include success error messages with animations. Let me know if this meets your requirements. So, it sounds good. Let's see how it's done. Refresh the page again. Okay, so the send URL button's there. It's hopefully isn't sending anything. Let's see if I run the webhook. I wonder if it did. Let's see. So I'm going to use existing data. No, cool. So let me just click that, hoping it's failed. Yeah, or it hasn't worked. Seemed to work. So let's go and look at our credentials now. So we're going to pin this back to here. There you go. That looks a bit nicer. Could be better. We can give it prompted to give some more instructions for it to be a bit nicer. So we're there. Click save. Again, no feedback to the user that it has saved, but maybe it has, so I can try sending the URL now. Okay, so nothing again there. So we'll keep prompting the ChatGPT for this. So the form looks better, thanks. However, when I click the save button to save the API key, still nothing happens, and the send URL button does not appear to be functioning, but this may be because there are no API credentials provided. Please update. Let's see if there was an error this time. There was, so we can click on this errors here. So it gives you a little bit more of an instruction of what the errors are. So let's take this into here. In fact, without actually asking, it's added us in some logging. So we've got some like more detailed logging there, so we can actually go and paste this information. So errors also in the plugin as follows. So that'll help it fix the issues, hopefully. Okay, let's go. Okay, let's zip again. Okay, let's download this, zip it, go to extensions, remove this one, load unpacked. Okay, 2.2 is alive. Let's go. Okay, so this time it says API key saved. That's what we wanted. So that seems to have worked. Let's click, see if we can send the URL now. We'll also try it without the credentials added. So let's do send URL. Okay, that's getting closer, but it's still not sending now for some reason, which it was doing before, right? More feedback. Send URL button is no longer sending any data to the webhook. Advise. And then the other thing we want to say probably is, yes, so please add some more logging so this issue is easier to debug. So I'm going to ask it for zip, but I'm also going to ask it, please advise how I access the error log files. So I'll say that as well, because it can be different places, but it's good for it to tell us where it's put them. Okay, zip. Okay, it hasn't really tried to make any changes, but let's see. decrypt this while that's telling me where they are. He says, now I've lost it. There you go, download extensions. We'll delete 2.3. Okay, 2.4. That's the beauty of this. You get different results every time, different issues. I'm determined to go no code on this and let ChatGPT to figure it out. Okay, add our extension. API key saved. Send URL. Okay, so don't think it made any changes. It just added login, so it's not surprising that still works. I was hoping it would try something. Let's see. Let's go to developer tools. If I look down here, I can see missing email or API key cannot send URL. So that's interesting because it's like it's not getting saved then, even though it's telling us it's getting saved. Which does make sense because it was working before we added this API key functionality. So there's obviously an issue there. And that's why it's not sending it. It's set not to send if it doesn't have an API key, but for some reason it's not saving the details and then sending them. So that would make sense as to why it's failing. Okay, let's download version 8 here. Oh, we do have errors in here as well. It does say, there you go, missing email or API key actually in the extension as well. Okay, let's remove that. Remove. Okay, 2.5's there. Let's close the developer window. Okay. So the webhook's still running. Let's go and add our save, send URL, and there you go. The API key, the URL, and the email entered in there. So that seems to be working. So now in Make, we want to try and authenticate that user using the email address. So if we go to our Airtable here, we've got 2 users that we added in the last video. So we want to make sure that it's one of these users that's trying to access our functionality. So we're going to go in here, we're going to do search records. We select the right base or the right connection here first. I think it's probably this one, blog to school demo. We'll soon find out. There you go, blog to LinkedIn. Table job, no, users. So let's check it, is that, yeah, job queue and users. And here we want to say, we want the output fields to be the email address. So that's what we care about right now. We also want to add in an API, the API key field into the database actually. So we need to add that. So I'm going to go in here and add API key. It's going to be a single line of text. Do create field. So the best way I think, and I found of creating an API key, is using some functionality within Airtable. So every time we create a new user, we want an API key to be generated automatically. So there's other ways you could do it. You could potentially use Make to go and create that and add that every time you add a new user. There'd be a slight delay there. Or there's this automations feature within Airtable where you can create triggers or create automations like we do in Make. So you can say when a record is created, so I'm going to specify that. We're going to select the table as users. So you want to select run a script here, or run script. And in here, you can go and copy and paste a script. So I've got a script that I've already created, I use. So this will be available in our school community just to copy and paste out. But this will create a very good API key meeting all of the standards. So if I just click test here, we should be able to see what happens. There There you go. So we get a lovely API key at the back of that. So if I go to finish editing, and I'm going to say update record, and here I'm going to call this the API key. Select the table. It's going to be the users. So the record ID we set here as Airtable record ID. And then the fields, go to API key. So that's the one we want to update. We want to update it with the API key. So let's generate a preview. See if that works. Okay, so yeah, computer fields are not running in test, so we can just test this out ourselves. So if we just turn this automation on, let's call this generate API key. API key. Go back to our data. If we just create a new record in here. Okay, so that didn't create the API key like we hoped. Let's go back and see why. So I think I've selected the wrong API key here. Let's just go back. It can be quite confusing. From run a script. There you go. So we need to go and grab this. It's because I did not publish them. So let's do update. Let's try again. Users. And there you go. So the script ran. There you go. So it goes and creates the API key for us. So here we have now is the API key. So what we can do is we just, these ones were new ones, so we just go and put the API key in there as the same, so we can authenticate against that. So now we just need to go to our make automation, and we want to select the output fields as the API key and email, because those are the two things that we care about. We can go here, and this is a Airtable formula. So we go search, and we put the email address in here. So this will be the email, comma, and then that's got to match up against the email address field that we have in Airtable. So we just check that I'll check that we've just called it that in a minute. It should be okay. So let's just check in Airtable that we've called it. Actually, we called it email. So let's just go back. Okay. So let's go okay. Let's try and now run that. Send URL. Actually, we want to update our credentials here to the correct credentials. We'll run this out as well. I think I might have just, there you go. Okay, so it didn't find anything there, but that's not surprising. Let's run this again. Let's go to here. Let's put in a valid email address this time. Let's use this one. Let's use this one. This is the one I'm logged in as. Okay, head off back to our extension. That's our email. Go grab the API key out of there. Oops, does not like that. So let's do mark at AI. Save that. Hopefully, if I pop this open and close, yeah, that works. It's good. So now, if we send the URL, hopefully, there you go. So it says the number of bundles is 1, so that means it found it. Hopefully, let's just go and make sure. Let's do the reverse and put an incorrect email address in there. Save. Send URL again. Whoops. Let's run it. It's existing data. This is the incorrect one that I put in. So hopefully there's 0 bundles now. Yep. So it did not find our email address in there, but it has passed the API key and the email address in there. So that's good. So now, if that is valid, we want to go and create a row in our database. So in the job queue, we want to be able to go and create a URL in this column, which will then kick off our job and start the creation of the LinkedIn post. What we'll do is we'll go back to here. We'll go create a record. This time it's going to be the job queue. And in there, we're going to add the URL, which is the URL we got from the webhook. And that should be enough to kick that off. Status, we can set that to do. Go, okay. Now in here, we want to create a filter to check that we're authenticated. So we can create this filter and say is authenticated. And what we want to make sure is that the email address that we found here also equals the email address that we got from the webhook. So we can say email is equal to the email, and we want to make sure that the API key is correct too. So we say the API key is equal to the API key. So if it is, then we can go ahead and create the record. If it's not, then we won't. So at the moment we've got the wrong one in there, so it should stop at this point. We would like to hope. So let's go and refresh this page. We'll run this automation. Okay, click send URL. Up over here, and there was 0 bundles because it didn't find the correct email address. So we can put in the correct email address but the wrong API key, and hopefully it won't get through there as well. So let's put in the right email address, which is Blackfeather AI, and then we'll put in just some other random character in there. Click save. Now the same thing should happen. Let's run out automation, except there will be a bundle because it will find the email address, but it will fail authentication because the API key wasn't right. So let's click in here. So it's got the bundle, but the API key in here, oops, does not match. So the email's fine, but the API key is not. So if we go and grab the API key, I'll go and grab the correct one out again, put it into here, click save, test it one last time to make sure now that it runs through, it should go ahead and create that record. So again, now it's gone ahead, created the record. Let's look in the database, the job queue, it's there. Refresh this page, we should have a new job in our queue that was created from the Chrome extension. I think this is because we're not logged in as the right person. Let's go and log us in as this user. Okay, let's try again. Send URL. So we've got a bundle. Now if we're going to the database again, go to job queue. I have got my item to do there. For some reason the job's not getting picked up yet, and we're not tying the email address, so it probably won't show us again in here. We haven't specified the email address into that column, so I need to go and add that as well. Yeah, so it's not showing. Let's see why that automation isn't running. Maybe it's not working because there's no email address in there. I can't remember the functionality that we put in there. Let's just go and do that as well then. Okay, so let's go and put the email address in here from the webhook. Okay, let's try again. Let's wait for new data. Send. Okay. Let's go to our database. There it is, with the new one added in. And I'll go back to our dashboard. The reason this wasn't showing before is because it hadn't assigned the email address. This is how we find out what jobs have been created by who. So if I go back to here, we can now see this is to do. So just taking a look at our last automation that we created when we were building the SaaS, I can see why these items in the database are not getting processed, because I was thinking that we had a watch for records being updated in this automation. So every time we added a new record to the database, it would pick it up and then go ahead and create our LinkedIn post. Actually, it's a webhook is the way that we've implemented it. So if I go into Softer, you can see this is our form that we created, and actually we're just sending the data to the webhook. So we're doing it slightly differently. So what we can do in the questions here is we can go and send the API key as well. So we already send the email as a hidden field, but we can also send the user's API key. So this is a bit of an aside from the extension, the Chrome extension, but just to show you how you get this to work. So we can say we map this to the API key, and then the value is the logged in user, the API key. So now we're sending the same data that we send in the Chrome extension from the web app as well. So that's quite good because we're getting authenticated that way around there as well. Because what we can do now is we can go and take these two modules, copy these, paste them into here. So this is the webhook. Actually, we'll just change the webhook in the Chrome extension, so we don't really need the webhook, but we can actually just use this in here. So do that. search for email from this one here. Click OK. And now we can go and add that filter in here. So what we've done really is this create a record, just happens here instead. So we can just go and search and then add in our filter again. So is authenticated. Condition is, does the email equal the email, and does the we haven't got the API key yet because this one hasn't been sent it yet, so let's just leave it at that for now. We'll just run this one through. So we'll ask ChatGPT to update the Chrome extension with the new webhook that we want here. Let's go in here. Let's copy this address. Please update the webhook address to... The reason I get ChatGPT to do it, rather than I can easily just go and find the piece in the code here and just copy it in. So it's that bit there that we were just highlighting. Don't know if you saw that on the video. I could go and change that. But if I want to go and add more features and ask ChatGPT to keep updating the files, if it doesn't know what the hook was, it's just going to keep reverting back to the old one. So even like small changes like that, I just like to let ChatGPT know that we've made a change. The other way to do it is if you make a lot of changes, like start coding yourself, you can copy and paste all of this in and say, tell ChatGPT I've updated the code as follows. Please use this going forward for any edits. So you can do that too. But this works. So let me just get this new zip file. We should be able to send the data through, and then we'll get an API key as a field that we can map to do our authentication. And here it is. Okay, go to my extensions, going to remove that one. I'll just refresh this page. Okay, let's take our user. And that, take our API key. Done that again. Save. Refresh, just make sure it's happy. Let's run this one. So I've disconnected this so we can just get it to pass the data to the webhook. Send URL. Come over to here. Whoops. There you go. So we can hook this up now. So email and the API key is equal to the API key. Okay. So let's just not let it do this piece. Let's just run it through with this. So we'll run the automation. Oops. Send URL. Did we get authenticated? We did. Okay, so in theory, I think that now should work. So we just change the URL here. For some reason, it should be the same, but let's go to URL because we didn't change the webhook. Okay, let's run this through, see if we can get this working. Run here, click send URL. To our automation. It's running. Okay, let's take a look at database. Well, that's working. So it did not add the link yet, so we need to do that. But it has, didn't add it to the database, but it has actually done and created the title. So we're giving it made it create a title. Just that's for the UI of the website, really. In here. So if we go into the website, refresh this. Should be one at the top that you just created. There you go. And the URL is missing. So we're just going to make sure the URL gets added in, which it clearly does not. So I'm just going to stop this. So just going to update these URLs, which were incorrect again. So I'm not sure why they were incorrect, but we're going to add those. I should now add the URL, hopefully. Let's go back, send URL. It's running. Let's check our database. That's the URL. It says it's working on it. So let's refresh our page whilst it's in progress. See, it says it's working on this URL. It's in progress. And there we go. And that concludes today's video. So in today's video, we implemented a Chrome extension with the help of ChatGPT to integrate with our web app so that we can just simply be on any blog page, click the send URL button, and it will post that to our automation and create our LinkedIn post for us. We also make sure that they are a valid and authenticated user by implementing the API key functionality, which we would check upon any request and are authenticated to use the application. So that's the end of today's video. I hope you found it useful. In the next video, we're going to look at monetizing the application. So we're going to create different payment plans and a number of credits for each payment plan. And each time the service is used, they lose some credits and potentially have to buy additional credit if they run out or upgrade their plan. So we're also going to implement payment pages through Stripe so the user can go ahead and select their plan and make payments, and their credits get renewed every month, and anything else that goes with what you expect from a usual SaaS business. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. If you're interested in this automation and grabbing hold of the unbelievable opportunity that exists today for AI automators, then I recommend you check out my school community, where you can download this blueprint and many more and be up and running in a matter of minutes. It's this simple. Navigate to the blueprints you want to download in the school community, go over to make.com and select import blueprint, and you're ready to go. In the school community, we also have automation learning materials and access to a full calendar of events, including masterclasses, Q&As, co-working sessions and live streams. When it comes to AI automation, if you want to up your game, then this community is for you. Head over to school.com/AI-automations to get started.